Here we are halfway through the week, or making our way through the week. We are on Wednesday again already. Holy shnikes. Hope you're off to a good start. We're off to a good start here at WLS. Weather's good. Out doing a little bit of work today. We're going to talk about that, what we're into today, and find out what you're into. But hope everybody's having an outstanding morning so far. Here we are at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. slow time for our friends like Aaron Walls and others in that central time zone. But hey, hope you guys are off to a great week. Um, Weather's been really, really good, and looks like the rest of the week's going to bring us really good weather. So we're hoping that turns out pretty well as well. So we'll see. It looks like we got some timely rain coming in this weekend again. So uh, working out pretty good, man. Getting plenty of good hours in for the work that we want to get done. And, I mean, if you're like us right now, we got quite a few different things going on. Like today, for an example, I mean, we're sitting here trying to get a little power seeding work done. I think we're down to a handful of those that we trying to get finished, and little mowing today, some fall fertilizer going down today, landscape work getting completed today. So yeah, we're rolling right along, and seeing a lot of things happening. So rolling into snow season, we're going to talk a little bit about the snow, and before that, we got leaves, and we've talked a little bit about that already, but we'll probably touch a little bit more on leaves. Um, Maybe today. We'll see how conversation goes. But curious to what you guys are into today. Let's see. Out rocking. Mike said he's out rocking and rolling hard, rolling hard. So take a guess at what I'm doing. Here's a hint. It's my least profitable service. I would say you're probably mowing, Mike. Probably out there mowing, man, if it's when it runs into that end of it. But yeah, out rocking and rolling, Mike. Hey, we got to do it. It's one of those necessary evils a lot of time, but it all works out okay. It all be good. It all be good. But hey, man, we get that mowing done, and then you get into something a little more exciting. Uh, True that. True that. He says, "Ding dong, we have a winner." So it's always good to be a winner, get a winner, right? When it comes to that. But yeah, Mike is out and about on his grasshopper this morning. It looks like so doing his thing, doing his thing. Nice sunny day down there where he's at too. But I did get some sad news today. Kyle was telling me that we had a gentleman that used to work here. Um, Terry Swanner passed away, and just I don't want to turn it into a Debbie Downer show by any stretch of the imagination. But the crazy thing about it, Terry worked with us many years ago, but we were just talking about him last week around here. I don't know if what even brought that mindset up, but we were just talking about him, saying we haven't heard from Terry for a while. So yeah, so we did. Kyle saw it on the news this morning, which was a little unusual. Terry was a Navy veteran, and they were just talking about his funeral today, and that he was going to have his funeral, and that's crazy. Would have wish I'd have known it before an hour ago, or 2 hours ago. Certainly would have liked to have went to that, but so just wanted to give him a little courtesy on a shout out, and appreciate his service to the United States and the Navy, and appreciated his time that he spent here at WLS with us. Terry was with us several years. This goes back quite some time. I'd say I'm not sure what Terry's age is. I would say he's probably 76, 77, because he was older than I was. I think he's about 10, 12, 13 years older than me, somewhere in that ballpark. So I'm not sure. He's at early 70s, early to mid 70s, but certainly was a great guy, very low key personality kind of guy. But again, I did want to give him a shout out this morning. So, um, Shout out. There you go, Terry. Pretty good dude. Pretty good dude. So, with that being said, we're going to take a quick break here on Turfs Up this morning. Got a lot of great things we're going to talk about. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. Great webinar last night that they put on robotic mowing and how they implemented it within their business and how potentially, you could think about it, consider it, and implement it within your business, regardless of what market you're in. Those guys are up there running, I think he said nearly 60 robotic mowers. Is And they implemented that in 2021 into their business, I believe is what he said. So not a long time, but long enough to figure a lot of things out, and they shared a lot of their knowledge and things they've learned and school of hard knocks that they went through, in the implementation of robotic mowing. And it was really good. So again, I want to give again both John and Jonathan, uh, Jay Brent Incorporated out of Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, doing a great job last night. And for all you guys in the Profit Circle that were there, we certainly appreciate you being in there. And if you didn't get a chance to sit in on it live, um, it's up and about, and Daniel said it's already up. So check it out. With that being said, I wanted to talk about my buddy Aaron Walls for a minute today. He was talking about mowing and how, when he goes out and does his mowing, they just don't, worry about strapping any of their equipment down, and they just go and they go mow. And it's crazy. Last Thursday, and I wanted to just bring this up with you guys again. Last Thursday, we had a DOT stop, and what initiated the stop was a push mower that wasn't strapped down. So it's funny how there's different rules and there's really not different rules, but how enforcement is different in different areas. I mean, it's like you just know you need to strap your stuff down here where we're at in our market. I mean, there's plenty of, even the Louisville Metro can do a DOT stop, so you just don't even think about going out, without having, things strapped down. But, it happens. I don't know. Mike said, yeah, I mean, how is it down there where you're at, Mike, in the southern part? You know, uh, they say they borderline wait for you at the gas stations there. And, I mean, I get it. I mean, I mean, that's what I mean, that's what their job is, right? To make sure that things are safe. But, I mean, and I'm not minimizing us getting stopped. I'm not okay. It was our fault. The mower was not secure. So I'm not crybabying about it. I'm just saying it's funny how some guys don't even worry about it at all, even in our market. I mean, you drive down the street. That was one of my mom's pet peeves, quite honestly, was, I mean, we don't get stopped frequently, but we get stopped some, and it's never anything major, knock on wood, but they did that, and then we had a marker light on a trailer that was not working. So a marker light on a trailer that was not working. And for you guys that try to make your lights work, like we do, um, you know how problematic that is. I mean, literally, you can check them in the morning and they're fine, and you take out and drive down the street and they're not fine. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, so a DOT stop and then also a marker light, and none of it's major stuff. Obviously, it's not a major occurrence, but it's funny to hear, a lot of guys talk about it. And then Aaron brought it up this morning. He's like, man, we never strap anything down, but I guess that may be the difference. I don't know what the difference is, quite honestly, but, or why it would be different, but, it is. It is. And I did have a DOT guy tell me one time, super great guy, man. They about once a year we go to a DOT class just to see if there's any updates or changes and whatnot. And just ask him one time. He said, I said, well, why does it seem like most times when you see somebody stopped, it's a logo truck and and uh, a company that looks good and they're trying to comply. And the gentleman actually honestly said, well, who would you rather stop? Somebody that you think's going to be a easy stop or somebody that's going to be a more complicated, time consuming stop? He said we got to do both. He says, but I'm looking for an easier stop sometimes, you know, and I think from that makes sense. It really does. If I'm switching positions with that person, yeah, that does kind of make sense. But when it's your turn to get stopped, it's like, oh God, why did we get stopped? And and I swear, Saturday, I think it was Saturday. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was Saturday last Saturday, uh, I literally saw a guy out and he had lawnmowers sitting on lawnmowers on the trailer. I was like, oh my God, look at that. I mean, at least we had floor space and our big shit tied down, you know. But you know, that was my mom's pet peeve. She used to talk about that all the time. That you know, you try to comply, you get your trailers registered, you get a license tag on your trailer, you try to make sure your lights are working, and boom, there you go. It's we're the ones with the DOT stop. So I don't know. Aaron, good luck's all I got to say. Keep it keep it going, my friend. Keep it going and hopefully you don't get stopped. But and I know a lot of you guys don't even worry with DOT numbers and I'm not getting into all that. What I think we may get into though is seeing if we can't get a DOT officer on here and talk to us. I think that'd be a good conversation to have, with one of those guys because, again, or ladies, they're just doing their job. I mean, they're doing what they know. Uh, that's what they need to do is try to keep our highways safe. And either you decide you want to try to comply or you don't want to try to comply. And that's just part of it. And we all know it. And if you don't know it, you need to know it that, yeah, you need a DOT number now that you can get interstate or intrastates, depending on, how you commute. And then those require different type of logging procedures and whatnot. But certainly, it's one of those things where you can feel like you know more about the actual rules and regulations than what maybe you really know about the rules and regulations. So, um, and I think it is better to probably be try to be proactive rather than reactive on that. Um, and they can tell when they can tell when you're making effort when you're not. So I've had multiple guys that talk about that in the presentations as well. So um, yeah, we're going to get somebody on here. We're going to get somebody on here, and that'd be a great topic too, Daniel, for the profit circle. See if we could get somebody in there just to generally talk about DOT rules and regulations for both intrastate and interstate uh, commuting around because the rules are different. And I know it's like us. We have a Kentucky DOT number, you know, but then that restricts us to not leaving the state of Kentucky, which is fine for us because we don't service, any surrounding states, but it takes some paperwork off of on our end as well. So just something to think about. Don't want to beat that horse too hard today, but just thought I was going to bring it up anyway. And then Aaron this morning was talking about not time. I don't even know how he got into it, quite honestly, but just not about not tying things down or securing things down. So, teach their own. And I'm not calling Aaron out, but I think a lot of times it's funny how he'll bring something up, and I'll be like, "Damn, man, I'm talking about that." So, but hey, it is what it is. So get your stuff checked, get you a DOT number, comply, and because I mean they will put you out of service. I mean they had us sit until we took a strap for the push more to to strap it in. Wasn't any engineering trying to well, can stretch this strap over it and blah blah this and blah blah that. It was no, you need to secure it, and you're out of service until it is secured. So don't get yourself put out of service. That's what I'm going to say. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. Holiday lighting season is right around the corner. Man, can't hardly wait. Looking for our partner Aaron Walls on that. Aaron Walls, we work closely with Aaron, and he certainly helps us out immensely with that. And looking forward to getting some of those new installs up and rolling. Looking forward to getting we got our social media ads rolling out, and looking forward to putting on some new accounts there. It's always fun to put on new accounts, and the reoccurring ones from year to year are outstanding as well. But we like to put on some new ones, and looking forward to that as well. So you get into the fall like this, and you got leaves, you got snow you're getting ready for, you got holiday lighting, that you're trying to build into, and it's just a lot of things can go on in the fall. A lot of guys look at it and they say, man, what are we going to do, this fall or this winter? I mean, these are some things right now that are easy add-on services with what you're already doing, within your business. And, I mean, you're right there. So let's just fish in that pond, and what I mean is you've already got the customers. You've already got the customers that you're doing maintenance with, or, whether it's mowing or landscape or fert and weed, whatever it is, and let them, buy more from you. It's just that simple. A lot of times we spend way too much time and effort, trying to find new work when we're not mining the gold right there at home. So take the time and mine that gold right there at home, and cut down that advertising expense, right? That's what it's all about. If we can reduce that customer acquisition cost, you think about it, what do you got? Well, you've already got a relationship with your existing customer base. So that's why we want to be selling our existing customers more things. So whether it's, holiday lighting, leaf services, the fall services with that. And with a lot of services, sometimes we're not sure about how we're going to be doing things. So I would like to say that I've heard, I don't know this to be true, but I heard that there's a club out there that's looking for a new president. So if you're, I don't think any of our listeners would be too interested in it, but the club is looking for a new president, and that's called the Slow Learners Club, all of which most of us have probably been a member at one time or another, realistically. But hey, I just want to ask you to ask yourself: Are you a member or an honorary member of the Slow Learners Club, or do you want to be the head honcho and be the president of the Slow Learners Club? I honestly think I was the president of the Slow Learners Club for a while, because you guys have heard me say it repeatedly, that I was a little slow on the uptake on some changes that we need to have take place and whatnot. And you got to decide that someday you're going to, let yourself out the door of the Slow Learners Club. And a lot of times that starts with when either we start our business or we add on a diversified service within our business, and we run in with that mindset. And I saw this on social media, not the president nominations on social media. I made that up, but there was a on Facebook the other day. I saw a gentleman that had posted up Um, it says charging less won't get you more customers. It'll bring you worse ones. And I'm like, that's absolutely a good point. It doesn't help you out any at all because it starts a new service off with the potential of failure for you because you're going at it the wrong way. And, there were a lot of different comments going on, both positive and negative to that. But I think one guy said, well, we don't take anything other than referrals. And I remember those days too with, WLS. When but your business gets to a point where, yes, you're you're wanting to see some growth and you're trying to scale your company more, and referrals are great and they're absolutely the easiest thing in the world to sell. But at the end of the day, a lot of times we need to do something other than referral base, and charging less isn't always going to be your right answer. Now, if you know your cost and you're charging less and you're still within a certain margin that you want to be, then I'm okay with that. But you got to look at, you know, don't be the president of that club by not understanding what your costs to do the job are, because the problem you run into when you try to charge less to build a customer base sometimes, or a lot of times, is there's limited loyalty when the decision to made is based over price, because then the decision will be made to fire you over price when somebody else comes along a little more competitive. And I've seen it time and time again. And I know there are some business models out there that suggest putting on people low and having a 40, 50, 60% increase. And, that's how they build their business model. And if that works and that's how you want to do it, then do it that way. But I also got to believe that there's some transition in customer base doing it that way. And because of what I just said, there's no loyalty when it's a decision to buy is based on price alone. You know, and another thing, that I personally saw and found out with that type of mindset was you don't sell any add-on work to somebody like that. Let's just say in that they hire you for fertilization and weed control, or mowing, some type of reoccurring service. Well, if they're looking for you because they want the least expensive price they got to pay, that could be that they don't have the money to spend on other services. Now, it could be that they're millionaires and they can buy what they want to buy too. That's the other side of it. But, it goes back to something my dad used to talk about, and y'all have heard me say it before, but, you don't hunt rabbits in a parking lot. You might see one in a parking lot every once in a while, but you're not going to generally go looking for them there. And that's the way we need to think about our businesses is, you know, do we want to charge less and build on a customer base, or do we want to understand what our costs are and maybe charge a little more? Or do we want to throw a dart every day, not knowing what we don't know, and continually trying to think, wait, we need more work, we need more work? But I personally got tired of being the president of the Slow Learners Club. And that's what I want to help you guys with, is to get you out of the Slow Learners Club as fast as possible. Now, I'm not saying not to go out and sell competitive priced work um, at a fair profit margin. You know, that's what it's all about, right? It goes back to the definition of a good deal is when both the buyer and the seller are happy about the price. But just make sure that you're not cheating yourself. And that's what I think the reality of it is a lot of times when we think we're going to go out and develop a customer base based on, you know, charging less versus understanding our costs to do the job. And that can be done with any service. It can be done with leaves, it can be done with mowing, it can be done with snow. There's not an exempt service out there that you don't have to worry about underpricing yourself. That's the reality of it. And I think that's something that a lot of times as business owners, it's a whole lot simpler mindset if we just say, well, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build my customer base up, and then I'll change my pricing model. And that's generally how most do it. But you could take a little shorter path by saying, you know what, hey, I'm going to do that, but what I'm going to do first is figure out what my true costs per hour of operation are. And now I'm going to go out and sell my services for a little less than this desired profit margin. I'll take this desired profit margin instead to help build that customer base up. And then I'll still have the loyalty from my customers because I didn't go out and prostitute the market. So, regardless of what service it is that you're doing, you know, that's something I think we need to consider is number one, charging less don't get you more clients, it just gets you bad clients in a lot of cases. And I'll go to bat and I'm going to die on that hill with that discussion, number one. But number two is know that it's okay to take a smaller margin if you want to take a smaller margin and you understand cost to build a database of clients. And then if you're strictly in one-off type work, you know, whether it's a one-off lighting or a one-off landscape or, you know, things that you're doing just on a one-off basis, then you've really got to have a really good understanding and handle on that. That's Mike says, let's see, Mike, let me pop it in here real quick. That was the advice I was given when I started business from another lawn guy. And I mean, we hear it all the time. I assume you're talking, Mike, that he told you to go in, get them cheap and raise the rates. Guess what lawn guy's doing now? Working at Home Depot. That's just it. And the cycle that continues year after year after year. And that's why, you know, when I talk about this a lot like this, these type of pricing methodologies, you know, you don't have to believe me. I've seen it for almost 5 decades now happen in our industry. You just got to take a gander at the statistics for the industry, and you know they speak for themselves. So let's change it. Let's change it. Now, the only one we can change, or the only one you can change, is who? That's right, is you. You got to be the one that's willing to change. And until you want to make that change and get out of that club, get out of the slow learners club, you know, we're always going to make mistakes. That's the reality of it. That's number one. Above all, you're still going to make mistakes regardless. But when you keep doing something over and over and over again, knowing that it's probably not the best thing that you could be doing, you know, then it becomes a choice and not a mistake. And that's where I think we could all get better at running our businesses is by making better choices. Are you willing to make a better choice? And that falls back into something very simple that we all need to understand, and that is, you know, let choice, not chance. And I'll say that again. Let choice, not chance, determine your destiny. You know, because they are two different things completely. Two different things completely. Because once, and I'll take it from my understanding and my own experience that when I was out there doing things and making decisions based on not knowing what I didn't know, everything was left up to chance because I was doing it the way I thought was right because that's how, quote unquote, everybody was doing it. But if you want to change things, you've got to first and fundamentally understand that the choices that you're making have got to be positioning your company to be successful. And the time that takes is going to be different for each and every one of us. And that's strictly, up to you when you want to make that change. And it's kind of like as you move into another season. Let's look at snow for an example. Okay. Leaf season's right on top of us, right? We all know that. Some of you guys are full blown into leaves. We're getting close here in our market. We've probably got a couple weeks, normally around Halloween. But the reality of it is, snow's the next thing up the bat. And what are you doing to prepare yourself if you're in the snow and the ice management side of the business? You know, and how are your accounts set up? Do you do seasonals? Do you do per push? Do you do a mix? Do you do retainers? There's a lot of things that can come into play with that. And then, some guys are resistant with that. They're like, man, it's just too much unknown on with snow and ice. I don't want to fool with it. And that's okay if you don't want to fool with it. But know that if you're in a market, even with limited opportunities for snow and ice, like it is in Louisville, Kentucky, there is an opportunity to make some decent money offering that service if you understand cost, if you don't want to be in a slow learners club, and you want to do it the right way. It's like anything. You can do it the right way or you can do it another way. I'm not going to say it's the wrong way necessarily. There are wrong ways of doing it as well, just like any service that you offer. But, the perpetual question that you get with snow is, what's this year going to bring? And the answer is always, well, I don't know. I mean, you never know. You can have, some help from, guys like BAM Weather, that are, hey, here's what long range looks like. And, as you get closer to it, here's what our mid range looks like. But at the end of the day, it's not like selling landscape lighting or holiday lighting or landscaping or anything where, hey, you just got to generate the lead, go out and sell the work. With snow and ice management, for too many companies, it's feast or famine. But there are some structures that you can put into your company, whether it's seasonal contracts, and we'll talk about that on this much deeper on another day. But seasonal contracts, or you writing all per push or per application, or you charging retainers, you're charging deposits. There's a lot of business models with snow, just as there are with every other service that you offer. But the one thing we cannot control with snow is when we're going to get snow or how much or how many times we're going to get snow. Whereas with a lot of the other services that we offer, we have an idea of, hey, we've got 280 days a year that we're going to be able to be in production doing landscape or mow or spray or whatever it is. There's a definite time period when and services are available to go out and sell. With snow, there's a lot of more uncontrollable variables, and that is when and how much and how often. So you can have the best laid plan you think in place. It's like we thought we had a pretty good plan in place for snow until we didn't. Until we didn't. And then we implemented different things within our business that said, hey, if we're going to have the overhead of plows and trucks and pushers and skid steers and, salt boxes and all the overhead that goes along with snow and ice management, and that's different again for every company. But if we're going to have that overhead, we've got to figure out a way to pay for that overhead, regardless of the number of opportunities that Mother Nature actually sends our way. And you could be in the slow learners club and say, well, man, that just won't work in my market. We don't get enough snow, or we get too much snow, or we get, we've always got an excuse on why we're in that slow learners club. But the really boils down to is, do you want to be the president, or do you want to be in and out of that club? Because there's plenty of room in the club, and there's been plenty of people that have been in the club till they weren't in the club anymore, whether they went out of business or changed their mindset and had different ideas. But you've got to do your due diligence of getting in and out of the slow learners club. And some people like to hang out and be the president, like I did for about 9 years. So my suggestion to you is simply don't be the president of the Slow Learners Club. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Don't you go anywhere. Appreciate you listening to Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio, and appreciate you listening and sharing Turfs Up Radio with all your friends and neighbors and colleagues that are running businesses that, want to just fine tune them just a little bit. And, it goes back to what Daniel talks about all the time is to make those 1% changes. So you guys keep making those 1% changes. We'll see you Friday. And in the meantime, have a great day. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.